talk through the questions, but I'm not going to read every little, datum and everything. And then we have Justin Foley with us from the DNR. So Justin will give a presentation, and then we'll switch back over to Eric to do our proposed 24 and questions.
One more thing I forgot to mention, we are recording this, so we'll send it out to our Lake Association update and have it on YouTube for you guys to view as well.
So our inspection this year went from fishing opener, our inspection season went from fishing opener May 14th to November 4th. There were some lake associations that had expanded coverage, and those went until September 24th, but our planned season ended right after Labor Day. So our updates from 2022 to 2023 is we increased the dollar per hour. So we had 17 for new inspectors. If you were a second, third, fourth year inspector, so on, you got 18 per hour. And then we had a lead inspector this year who got 19 per hour. So we did a couple of in-person trainings. The DNR always provides their grade level 1 and level 2 trainings. Then we also did our own inspector training up at the Cross Lake Decon Station and also here in Land Services. So we always like to get feedback from our inspectors at the end of each season, and what we heard after the end of the 2022 season, at the end of the 2023 season, are very similar themes. Driving's been kind of a contentious point because gas prices, and so inspectors wanting pay increases. We hear from other counties that are, well, I can go to this county and get more, or they're just wanting more per hour, and then concerns with lake service providers not following, the guidelines and doing what they're supposed to. From what I've, talked with Jess, it's, this season's better than last season, so hopefully compliance with LSPs is better. 2024 season, bathrooms at landings, that's been an issue, where some people don't want to work certain landings, which is super understandable because there aren't bathrooms, or they have to drive, sometimes it's not very far, but sometimes it's, a good little bit to get to a bathroom. We've got some requests from inspectors that they want more, simple yet eye-catching handouts, which we've talked about, and I think Jess has a plan for getting that going for next year. Some printouts. So our budget. So from the state, we got $462,000, and then we allocated $505,000. So with the state, and then money funds from the county for watercraft inspections. And for watercraft inspection hours, we increased from 2022. So 2022 was about 15,000. This year we did 16,155 inspection hours. That was the proposed, not necessarily the fulfilled, but the proposed hours in our plan.
Alex, so the extra money for this year, does that came from the holdover from last year?
I believe so, right, Jess?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So one of our programs going into kind of, aquatic AIS and plant mitigation prevention that has been really successful is our Starry Search, or our kind of echo of the Starry Trek program that the state does. This year we allocated $10,200 for the Starry Trek, and we only distributed about $3,000. So I believe 10 landings and 6 lakes. Yeah, 6 lake associations, 10 landings. It's not widely utilized. And then we have our EWM, our integrated water oil treatment. 9 lakes are approved to receive full funds for that. And then we have Ozzie and Emily that are approved for a $500 reimbursement for treatment. And the county this year distributed $28,500 out of the $32,500. So we had some great outreach activities this year. We did some school presentations. We have our biweekly Lake Association updates. We wrote a good newsletter article for the Pelican Lake Association newsletter. And then we had these Protect Our Lake towels, these golf towels that were a huge success, both with our inspectors and with the public. So we went around and handed out those for our inspectors, and they handed out those to voters and accesses. So we had, only one new infestation this year. That was Gladstone. Other than that, everything stayed the same. We didn't find any new zebra mussel veligers or spiny water flea or starry trek or starry stonewort in any of our testing. So, or the testing that Lake Associations did. So just one, zebra mussels and Gladstone. For early AIS detection, for those Bellinger testing, we have $2,900 for the Bellinger and spiny water flea testing, and that was completed in July and August. And then all the lakes that were tested were free. We didn't, I don't believe, tested Gladstone, right? That was the DNR was able to find that. An individual reported it, DNR confirmed it. So diving into the budget. So we had a 2022 rollover of 115,000, which added up to that 462,000 proposed budget for 2023. Our expenses came out to 468,000. You can see the itemized list. And then our estimated rollover to go into the 2024 season is $109,000. So we're going to go to the data. A lot of these graphs look the same, so I'm going to make sure to point out some of the graphs include expanded coverage, some don't include expanded coverage. So we'll, like I said, I'm not going to go into all of the super fine stuff, but we'll just look at an overview. Our landing map, so we have our 44 lakes and 49 landings across the county. This is our map from this year. And those are chosen based off of the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center, their risk, which lakes are at a higher or lower risk. And so we use that to delineate very low risk, moderate, and high. And then we adjust our hours based on those allocations, but those relations. So this is all of our surveys. So this is including decon, this is including expanded coverage, and including the hours we proposed in our 2023 surveys. So we had 50,000, over 50,000 surveys this year, which isn't a record year, but still very high, with our highest being Cross Lake Southwest Landing, and then Mission Lake being our lowest. And our hours completed, like I said, proposed is about 16,000. We only fulfilled 15,000 of those, and for various reasons. Sometimes, the DNR staff's landings, and so, those don't go into our hours. Bay Lake had the highest, and Mission had the lowest. So this is our surveys excluding expanded coverage. So this isn't Monday through Thursday. Sometimes we have, from the 4th of July and the holiday weekends, we have that Thursday. But for the most part, this is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 42,000 inspections. So the majority of our inspections cover non-expanded coverage. And then same set, but for hours, looking at 12,000 hours. So out of those 15,000 hours, 12 were from our plan and non-expanded coverage. Looking at decon, our decons, we did 279 in Cross Lake. That permanent station up there was about 45% of our total decons. So it's pretty popular, it's doing really well. Then we have our 2 other mobile decons, one with a reclamation mat and one without. So now this is the opposite of what I just talked about. This is only expanded coverage. So 7,600 expanded coverage hours, with Cross Lake Southwest again being the highest, Gladstone having none. And looking at expanded hours, 5,700, Bay Lake having the highest, and Gladstone only having 3 shifts. So average surveys per hour, you can see the green line is our 4-year, our 2020, 21, 22, and 23 average, and then the gray, the bars are this year's average. So we had some that were above average, some were below average. Both surveys per hour and total surveys. And here, or upper and lower Mission had the lowest surveys per hour at 0.61. Nisswa had the highest at 7. And then our boat type, unsurprisingly, fishing boats were the most common, and cabin cruisers, not on the lax, were our least common. And also, unsurprisingly, most of the aquatic invasive species were found on trailers. The gray is found exiting, and the black bars are the found entering. So a lot more AIS found exiting lakes, which we see fairly common at landings, the weeds and stuff coming off. So species entering and exiting, and these are it's different from the previous. This is part of the boat where it was found. This is what the actual, invasive species is. The majority for exiting our plants, which is very, very novel or surprising. There was, I think, 1 snail found exiting. So our zebra mussels, again, really only found entering 96% of our surveys didn't have zebra mussels were absent. So what's really cool, and I want to take a moment to kind of, stop and look at this is, we have people from the entire country visiting Crow Wing County for our lakes, which I think is really cool. Yes, 80% of those boats are from Minnesota, which is not surprising. But we have all but, I want to say 5. So we have, 45 states recorded visiting lakes in Crow Wing County, which I think is really cool. So our next plan, we talked about, we have our future plan presentation next. So we go into public comment here pretty soon. We hope to get that out the next day or so. And then in January, our county board will meet to, discuss and hopefully approve our AIS plan. And then in February, we begin the process of hiring and getting our, hopefully 60 inspectors on board and ready to go by the time fishing over happens. So we're pretty close to getting that ball rolling again. So before I lose my voice, I'm going to give it over to Jessamine to talk about the DNR, what the DNR's up to.
Sure.
Yes, and Jessamine is our regional watercraft inspector for quite a large area, right?
The Northeast region, yep.
Yep.
So, yes, I'll show you a map in a minute.
You switch the teams.
Does this turn around?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm not going to find it necessarily.
Yeah.
Does it matter if I stand on this side or?
Oh, no, that's good.
Okay.
I just don't know how to work the Teams meeting.
Yeah. So you have to switch over?
It was locked.
Yeah, I know.
For a privilege.
I have Teams on my computer and I log into your internet and do all of that.
And then present on yours.
Yeah, I could do that.
That works.
Might take me a minute though. So it's the Crow Wing County.
Yes.
I'll guess. Oh. It's not connecting.
I don't think it can work. They're not gonna be able to see.
Try opening your
The
browser.
air.
Computer screen, I should just leave back to this. I can look at 6 or 8 on there. I think
Oh, there we go. My connection was interrupted. Probably my security on my computer probably is not allowing me to connect to yours. Can you open my presentation in
Is
the
this yours
email that
here?
I sent you?
Yeah,
We couldn't get it open.
On Teams. Oh.
Jessica, can you just
Yeah, I
turn
think you need to
your,
open on your computer because I'm only seeing you.
If that
So
board
we need
would
to-
let me, these public meetings would be
You
over.
email it to me, but the OneDrive we couldn't.
Maybe I should get up there and show them how to do
They keep Lupke away from this whole thing.
it. Keep me away from the solution, or whatever you do. I want to be part of the problem the whole way.
I don't know if I have a way because it's in my email and I can't log in. And I would have to log in and change the format.
Nice to feel the love, isn't
So,
it?
It's above my pay
Yeah, I
grade, I
don't
know
think I
that.
can hear you.
well,
Yeah, you
even
looked out
without seeing
windows,
the
you didn't look
PowerPoint,
out,
Yeah.
you didn't
they
look
can
at
follow
screens.
along with what I'm talking about.
Is it showing?
Well,
No, I didn't realize it was online as well, sorry.
Oh, you're good. We thought we were able to pull it up. So I think, can you still hear us online?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You gotta show it to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can.
So
So we're good. So you just won't be
I'll just
able
make
to
sure I
see that.
explain things and they'll know what I'm talking about. I actually thought about doing this presentation without a PowerPoint. I know that's unheard of these days, but I almost came without anything. So they'll be able to kind of hear and I'll make sure I talk about everything. If they have questions, they can just raise their hand and you can interrupt me. Okay, so for everybody online, since you can't see my presentation, just let Jessica know if you have a question or need me to explain anything better, and she will let me know, okay? All right, so for everybody here, I'm Jessamine Foley. I am the Regional Watercraft Inspection Supervisor out of the Brainerd office, just right down the street. I've been with the program since our non-game program is underneath that umbrella. And then, of course, us. So our state is broken up into 4 regions. Region 1, which is the northwest portion of the state. Region 2, which is the northeast portion of the state. Region 3, which is the southeast portion of the state. And Region 4, which is the southwest portion of the state. So each of these regions has its own watercraft inspection program with a supervisor, a program assistant, and level 2s and level 1 staff. We also have a coordinator who works out of St. Paul that kind of works with us all together. So we have regular meetings and we coordinate and talk about different challenges that we face throughout the state. So here in our region, which includes Crow Wing County, which you're here to learn about today, we have 12 level 2s. And then we supplement that with 12 level 1s. All of our level 1s are interns. So they apply to our program and they must receive college credit in order to have a position with us. And we match them with our level 2s just so that they can go ahead and get those decon units out, because we do require 2 people to be out with the decon unit to set up the reclaim mat and to make sure that if something comes up, they have somebody there to pack up, leave. Somebody, if the access is busy, somebody can continue doing inspections while the other person is performing the decontamination. So across the state, there's 46 positions for level 2s and 46 positions for level 1s currently. And you can kind of see how it's broken up here. We have 12, Region 1 has 11, Region 4 has 9, and Region 3 has 14. And all of those are with matching interns. So here's our crew. This is just a portion of it from this year, 2023. We have regular monthly all-staff meetings where we do different trainings. This particular training, we actually had our invasive species specialist, Tim Plude, come in. He did a hands-on starry stonewort plant ID training. That way our inspectors feel like they can identify starry stonewort when they're out at the access. You can see at the top there how it's broken up. We've got myself, supervisor, Chad Burback's the program assistant, and then I'll get into some more of the numbers about how many staff and where we put them in Brainerd here in just a minute. This was a nice day. We're headed into the winter. It's good to remember the nice sunny days. So region 2, we have 12 level 2s, we have 12 level 1s. How we break them out is we actually have 6 of them, 6 of the level 2s with 6 of the level 1s right here in Brainerd. So that means we've got 12 inspectors operating 3 decon units right here, and that's mostly in Crow Wing County. We do send them sometimes to Aiken County, and sometimes to Cass County, Gull Narrows, Gull Government Point. And then we've got some lakes over in Aiken County on the north end of Mille Lacs that they go, but the majority of these inspectors hours is all within Crow Wing County. The rest of our staff, so the other 6 are broken up into 2s. So we've got 2 down on the south end of Mille Lacs, working out of Father Hennepin State Park. 2 in Grand Rapids, working out of the regional office there, and they kind of cover like the Deer River area as well, Lake Winnibigoshish, north of there. And then we have 2 over in Duluth who work up the North Shore and on some of the inland lakes right there in Duluth. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break it out a little into what we've done this year in Crow Wing County. So in Crow Wing County, here's our level 2 days. When I talk about days, each of our staff works 10 hours for the day from the time that they arrive at the office to the time that they get back. So 10 hours includes their travel time and the time that they have out at the lake. So for this year, you can see, and I'm going to read it because the folks online can't see it. So I'm sorry if I'm boring you guys, but Bay Lake, we were at 19 days this year. Clamshell, 13 days. Cross Southwest, 26 days. Edward, 1 day. Gull East, 17 days. Lower Hay, 19 days. Mille Lacs, Garrison Wayside, 18 days. Nisswa, 9 days. North Long Merrifield, 9 days. Pelican, City of Breezy Point, 5 days. Pelican, Halverson Bay, 10 days. Pennington Mine, which is over in the Cuyuna Recreation Area, we were there 5 days. Serpent West, we were there 9 days, and Upper Whitefish, 10 days. So that's 192 total days we were spent out at the Access this summer with our level 2s in Crow Wing County doing decontaminations and inspections at those specific lakes. I'm not going to read this list. I'm sorry, folks online. It's a very long list, and I think I've put the audience to sleep. But here is our level 1 hours for the day. So level 1 hours for us are when we don't bring our decon unit. So it's just an inspector at the Access. It could be a level 2 inspector, but they don't have their decon unit. So we call them just level 1 hours. So you can see there's a lot more lakes on this list. And one of the reasons for that is we can't set up our decon unit at a lot of these lakes. There's not enough room. We'd be taking up too much parking space. But we do prioritize high use infested waters with all of our inspection hours. And the reason behind that is because we are focusing on our level 2s. So we've got our decon units. We want to get those out to known infested waters because we know the boats leaving that lake have the potential to spread aquatic invasive species. So all of these lakes that we work at are infested at this point in time. And the list has gotten longer, like you said, with Gladstone Lake being added on to that. There's a couple of lakes that we didn't get out to this year. And we had 123 total days of level 1 hours in Crow Wing County. So those sound like pretty good numbers for us with a staff of only 12 here in Crow Wing County. However, we were very short on our hours again this year. And of course, we're looking at difficulty staffing, just like every place is right now. So we were not fully staffed this season. We only had 4 of those 6 positions filled at the start of the season through June. Then we lost one and we were down to 3 for about a month. And then we hired 2 more. And so we had 5 total level 2s starting in July through the end of the season. And so we still have 1 vacancy. Hopefully I'll be posting that around February. So if any of you know who wants a job, right? And then this year we only hired 4 of our 6 interns as well. So you can see that we wanted to meet 362 total, I'm sorry, this should say days. 362 days is what our goal was for level 2s. And we only met 123 days. And exactly here, down here with our level 2 hours, we only had 192 days out working with the decon unit, and we actually had slated 474 hours. So it's that staffing problem, right? Then there's the complication that comes up with decon unit breakdowns, people who call in sick. We've got all the people problems and the maintenance problems as well. So being that I am new in my position, I'm going to be taking a look kind of at this and trying to come up with a better estimate. Because this would be in a perfect world where everybody was healthy, everybody showed up to work, and everybody was there for their full time. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of pull out what we did as a region. So this is not Crow Wing County. We're going back to as a region. So the entire Northeast region. So this is all of our staff this season. Our grand total for inspections was 9,997. And you can see that's broken up by courtesy, entering, exiting, and boat lifts. And then you can also see, interestingly, kind of what we saw across the region, starting with sailboats being the least, all the way down to these fishing boats, of course, being the highest across the Northeast region with just our staff. I'm sure you guys saw similar to this. One of the things we do give credit to and we take into account is how many wake sport boats we're seeing and where we're seeing them at. So we know we see a greater majority of these at Gull Lake, and we know we see a greater majority of these at Bay Lake. So those two lakes do get a little bit of a bump in our tier list based on that, because there is a risk factor associated with transporting aquatic invasive species with those ballast tanks being on board. Decontaminations, they're up percentage-wise this year. So we're really happy to see this. We've been working on trying to encourage the public to use our decon units more. You know, they're expensive, they're out there, they're supposed to be a tool, it's a service that we're providing. We did change one of our requirements this year. We used to have a recommendation of decontaminating your boat if you were going to another lake within 24 hours. That changed this year. Now we're recommending that you get a decontamination anytime you are going to another lake within 48 hours. So that takes the question out of the inspector's mind when someone says, I'm going out tomorrow. Tomorrow, does that mean 24 hours or how long is it? No, you just need a decon. And so we're hoping, or we're thinking that that might have encouraged it. But you can see here that with this comparison between 2023 and 2022, we had similar number of inspections. So in 2023, for those of you online at home, we had 9,977 inspections with 433 decontaminations. So that's about a 4.33% decontamination rate per inspection. And that does include all of the inspections that were conducted even without the decon unit present. And then over here in 2022, we had 9,146 inspections with only 269. So that's a little bit less than 3% decontamination in 2022. So we're happy to see that people are using the decontamination unit a little bit more. So partnering, how is that done? It's a lot of scheduling, and it was kind of rough this year because there was a lot of hands changing, or a lot of people rotating through. I'm new in my position. Alex, you are new in your position, and I think there was even a predecessor before you this season. So, but what I hope to do and what we've done in the past is sat down over the winter and at the beginning of the season, and we've been able to come up with like the previous Nicole Erickson and I had come up with a rotating schedule at some of the lakes that are busier that we share a lot of hours at. We also do partner with Crow Wing County inspectors. So we will send our decon unit out and your staff will partner with us, help set up the decon unit mat and work with us out at the access. And I think that's just great because there's a lot of education and sharing that goes on at the access. And it's refreshing, I think, for them, both my staff and hopefully your staff to work with somebody new for the day. Because, you know, 10 hours a day, day after day with your partner at the access, you can only tell your whole life story so many times. So we do that. And it's mostly, you know, we do share a lot of the priorities when it comes to lakes because you guys are focused on getting out there to the high use infested waters, and so are we. So, you know, sometimes it may not look so good that, hey, your lake isn't getting all the hours you're supposed to from Crow Wing County, but hey, the DNR is there. And hopefully we can get better. I can get better at being able to report that to you throughout the season.
But Justin, people probably don't know you've been around a while, I know I have. This has always been a problem. I mean, when we have people scheduled on a landing and the DNR shows up and kicks us off because it's your landing, it's a ripple effect. On not only people get frustrated in trying to get the numbers right in the reports on who covered what. So it's refreshing to hear that, it sounds like a commitment of getting this better. This has always been an issue. And it's always been a pain point that really is in the system that a lot of people aren't aware of, that is a big headache administratively. So I just want to say thanks, and we'll go through that.
Well, I think it was going pretty good, honestly, and I don't think we had too many hiccups this year at the end of the day. And I know my staff is flexible, they're willing to move as well. It's just sometimes when they move and they move 2 times and there's still another inspector there when we run into issues. And I know a lot of it has to do with weekends and availability of being able to get a hold of a staff member who can look at the schedule. And me being in 2 roles, the supervisor and the program assistant this year, it was a little hectic, but I think overall it went well. I mean, there's always going to be an occasional time that we run into each other, but we do a lot of communicating to try to prevent it, and that will continue. So AIS roadside checks, I don't know if you guys know about these. You guys familiar with what they are and what they do? Yes, I'm not seeing a lot of yes or no's. So roadside check stations, we partner with our conservation officers. We set up an inspection station that we operate with conservation officers, a zebra mussel sniffing dog, a decon unit, and all of our watercraft inspectors. We hosted 4 of those throughout the Northeast region this year, one of them here in Crow Wing County. We hosted ours here in Crow Wing County fishing opener weekend, and that was on County Road 16 at the Upguard WMA. And this is what we saw. We had 27 inspections. We worked late in the evening. We thought we would catch more people. They always try to set them up during a busy time. Unfortunately, it had been gorgeous out all the way leading up to that day. And we think everyone was at their cabin, nice and settled in by the time we got set up and ready to go. So it was lower numbers than what we wanted to see. But interestingly enough, we always see a higher violation rate at roadside checks. Not really sure the reason behind that, but we did have a 26% violation rate at that roadside check. And I do have more details in a report here. So if you guys wanted to dive into that, yeah.
The question that I've heard like this doesn't is that you read your reports and 95% of the people are compliant, entering and leaving the lake, and then you get a 47% on the road. It's like, well, shouldn't there be some correlation there?
Well, one of the
How do you
thoughts,
think that is?
well, one of the thoughts behind that is people know where inspectors work and they use that lake regularly. So if you know that you're going to see an inspector at the access, what are you going to be more likely to do? You're going to be ready for your inspection. Now, if you're just packing up and you're driving from one lake to the next and you're not expecting to run into an inspector, chances are you might have forgotten to do something. I don't know that it's necessarily intentional all the time, but that's just one of the thoughts. I guess there really isn't maybe a good correlation or a good study done on that. But we do, if you read our invasive species report every year, with all of the roadside check information, you will see that there's a higher percentage of violations seen at roadside checks. And I'll kind of go over the next 2. So we did one on the 3rd of June, which was muskie opener on Mille Lacs at the Malmo Public Water Access. They only had 15 inspections. Again, timing is everything, weather is everything. It was really windy that day. Who's going to go out on Mille Lacs muskie fishing in the wind? So we had a 20% violation rate on that one. In the middle of July, we tried to catch some traffic over in the Duluth area. Of course, it's very busy over there that time of the year. That was our busiest roadside check this year, and that was our highest violation rate as well. So we had 49 inspections with a 47% violation rate. One of the things noted in that roadside check is that 38 of the 49 boats were from out of state. So there could be a reason there for such a high violation rate, especially because Wisconsin doesn't have a drain plug law, and there was a lot of drain plugs in. So in Wisconsin, you drain your boat, you put your plug back in, and you're legal. So that is something that we run into with that situation. And then we ran a really late season one, hoping to catch some duck hunters and get like just a different feel. That one, it was pouring rain all day long and freezing cold. We ran that one at the Anchor Lake Rest Stop, which is south of Evelyn. They only saw 25 boats, but there was no violations. And one of the thoughts behind that is when it's pouring rain and you're going down the road, your plants are going to wash off. And if you see standing water in the boat, how can you attribute it to a lake? It's raining outside. So, so that's kind of a tricky one.
So these are not necessarily AIS violations.
These are all AIS violations.
He, I think, celebrating or something. I think that
Drake was not an AIS violation.
Well, it is because
is.
it's under the watercraft transportation, that law is in place to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species. So it's under the AIS laws. Yep. So it would be like drain plugs, transporting plants, transporting animals, that kind of, or in water. So those the main things that you're looking for when you're inspecting your boat. If they find any of those things, it's considered a violation. They're not looking for any other violations. So none of these violations would be like not wearing your seatbelt or things like that. If that makes sense. We have zebra mussel sniffing dogs, like I said. So these dogs work with us at the roadside checks. We did have a dog find a zebra mussel this year. So at the Malmo roadside check, he found one and he hit on it, and they looked, the people working there looked and looked and looked. It was inside the propeller, buried so deep that you couldn't see it, but they did find it, one single zebra mussel. So that was pretty cool. The person did not get a citation because the general person, me or you, how are we going to know it's there? But it was a good educational point nonetheless. I want to share with you a little success story right here in your own backyard. We have a courtesy decon line. People can go online, they can see our decon schedule, they can call us. We had somebody call in, they had a 50-foot houseboat that had been out on the whitefish chain all summer long. This was in July that they called us. And they were taking it up to Lake Vermilion, and they wanted to have it decontaminated. So my staff and him coordinated to send our decon unit out. They worked for 2 hours on one of those extremely hot July days, decontaminating this boat. My staff, Jason Gildart and Tyler Wilcox. This is John Utecht. He's with the North St. Louis County Soil and Water Conservation District. He kind of partnered with us because he was going to provide decon up at Lake Vermilion. But we figured instead of transporting a boat across the road with zebra mussels, we'll get it cleaned off for him before he takes it up there. So they got that taken care of. He was very proud of his boat here. This is our guy, Dave. I think that's his name, Dave Johnson. And he's very proud of having his boat cleaned, and we got that taken care of. He took it up to Vermilion. They did find adult zebra mussels while they were cleaning it. So it was a good thing that they took care of it. Finally, a couple other things the DNR has going on is we have these stickers we've been trying to hand out. We had a sticker program years and years ago. People used to collect them. They had all the years of the inspectors. You'd show up at the access, you'd get your sticker, 2000, year 2000, year 2001, and you would put them on the winch post of your trailer. Those stickers went away, and people asked us, when are you bringing the stickers back? So years and years went by, and we brought these stickers back, and we put the year on them, 2022, and we printed a ton of them. Guess what? People didn't actually want the stickers anymore. So we still have a ton of these stickers. They still say 2022, and we're still trying to hand them out. Now, one of the things about this sticker is it's got this QR code. You guys know how to use QR codes? This QR code links you straight to our online decon map. So that's one of the benefits of this sticker. If you've got it on your winch post and you need to know where to get a decon, you can just have that right there, be handy, ready to go. I did bring a roll of my 2022 decon stickers, so I've got several more, but and it's also based on some community-based social marketing, which is the philosophy that behavior change happens through behavior, people doing the right thing, right? And that's why we want to get people to make these pledges and say that they're going to go ahead and I will clean and drain my boat, trailer, gear, before leaving any water access. When they display that, it's like a public change of behavior. So when you display that, you're saying to your friends like, hey, this is the right thing to do. You should be doing this too. And then you can also go online to mndnr.gov/AIS pledge, and you can add your name to the list and take an online pledge to protect Minnesota waters. And so we're continuing to try to drive the numbers up here. You can put your picture on there if you want to, or you can just choose one of our little grant, like handheld grams or whatever, put your name on there, and you can see who else has put their name on there as well. So you can check on your neighbors and your friends and see if they've pledged to do their part. And that's what I've got for you today. Do you guys have any questions for me? Concerns? Yeah.
Talking with Steve Ruff from Hennepin County, he actually did like an AIS pledge, and he can actually calculate what percent of the people took the pledge on that one lake. And they give them a ranking, and you get like, bronze, gold, silver. And it's kind of like a game, like everything's a game now. You view your income tax, and it's like, you get so many points for it. It's like, this stuff was kind of interesting because it shows the data, and people can say, well, I'm on this ranking, 94, we're in a gold star rating. What's your rating? Type of thing. And some people, we're only silver, and he only had I think he had started out with 4, and now I think he's up to 5 or 6. But he's doing that in Hennepin County, and he's trying to do the whole, not social media, but social aspect of it that,
So like you get a sign to display in your yard that I'm a gold star
and
member.
it's all online, so you can go online and say this lake is a gold star lake because they have X amount of people who pledge. And it also has it asks you some questions like, do you own a boat? Okay, if you put no, then it's not going to ask you and show videos of boat cleaning.
Right.
But if you say I own, something like this, a dock, then it's going to ask you dock questions, and then you click and you take the 5-minute survey that educates you about docks and how to take care of them. And then you get certified, and it keeps track of you online. I would recommend talking to Tony on that because he's hitting the social media aspect of it, but I'm sure, Ball Lake would love to tell Pelican Lake that they're a gold star. And kind of have that little competition. It's not encouraged competition, but there's a natural, how are we doing as a lake versus say all the other lakes?
Right.
It just kind of gets into the whole human nature thing. I just thought it was interesting. I don't know how well it's working, but he said he did have some links and, stuff to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that whole social behavior thing. Tina Fitzgerald is our main contact, and she's down in the city. She's working on that. She was at the
Local partners.
local partners meeting
Yeah.
yesterday. So she does a lot of the community-based social marketing work with us and then implements it. So she's created these things with that research that she's done. So,
So you normally hand those out at the public meetings?
yes, yep, we have them. Now it's a matter of getting my inspectors to hand them out because they, it's an extra step and they already feel like they're taking up so much time sometimes that they forget about it. But if they get somebody who's like really gung ho into it, or especially when somebody agrees to get their boat decontaminated, then they usually will hand this out more. But they should have them with them if you ask for them, or if you would like to take some, they're right in the back. I've heard there today. Yeah. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, take them to that lake association.
Yeah, I know, and they still say 22. We were thinking of getting like just a little sticker made to put over the 22, like a license plate tab. But yeah,
Maybe a 0 plastic.
right. Oh. Okay, well, thanks for letting me share. I hope I shared with you things you wanted to hear. If you wanted to hear more about something else, let Sterling County know. And next year, when I'm on year number 2, maybe I'll
Mike Matt,
Went down 100 years before.
But again, I understand the mission, I understand the goal, I understand the vision, and, but it's a ton of money, and there's no one organization that could put it in that change.
No, we went to every state agency and money that I saw, you don't meet our.
When I sit and look out the window at the lake house. I put my business card back there.
I'm glad that worked out. That's unbelievable. And I'm on the Art of the King.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen any of the first bills yet. We don't know how they're acclimating the bills, but right now, Rich Spitzky is meeting this week and what else? But he's,
And that was about.
so he's.
So are you getting a franchise agreement?
Oh, yeah, we already got that. We set all that up. But ours is only at one, because that's all we're using ours for. We're at 1%. All we're using ours for, and that's what the other one is, all we're doing right now is we're accumulating.
Well, that's
And we give it out
we
to
just want
staff.
them to have the ability to come in here.
Yeah, well, and we gave them a little bit of more than that. We said, you have to be close to greasy, tremolo, because right now, tremolo never makes a deal.
Well, and that's when you do that.
We never said that, if you're close to that freezing point line, and you're not ideal, and you're close to the freezing line, nobody's gonna say anything if you, those people are asking for and with that video, guess what they get? Everything else.
Everything.
Better get rolling.
No way, TDS. But it's all part of the.
Well, and the other thing that I wanted to know on that particular property was, had anything gone back to Sherry, a year later or whatever, to see, because that's so historic right there. I mean, because we can't trespass on here to find that, so that's what I wanted to know, and they assured me that someone had done
They'll never
something.
find anybody that will do even half that.
I asked Josh, I don't know if I told you this, with the deal you did with us. How big was
Was it really for trouble? Well, it was a,
it more than double their.
and who lost in the deal? TDS, because they didn't show up for the party. But they didn't show up for the party.
So Spectrum.
Well, Spectrum, we wanted to make sure they couldn't show up for the party. That's why we set the rates, that level at 100 meg. And again, it goes back to being co-op, and co-ops, those are those communist organizations that are coming in the country. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't even be associating with. I know it. Hopefully that doesn't come out anywhere. It'll be up at the DS. We'll have people in there saying we gotta get out of the co-ops.
No, it is also a fact that.
One of our commissioners serves on a communist board. That's true. That's true.
Should we get back to?
Lost control.
Get back to? Yeah, let's get rolling.
That's what they want.
Just gotta get going. These guys
Start yelling.
are going. I got places to go.
Oh, nice. All right, we'll jump into the 2024 plan. Eric's gonna present on this, but feel free to ask questions. Otherwise, we'll do feedback at the end again.
All right, well, thank you. Kind of like Jessica said, I'll be doing the presentation on the proposed plan for this 2024 season. Alex, I think, did a great job of kind of summarizing what we did in 2023. So we'll just go right away into it. A little bit of what we'll go over. We'll go over the budget, some of the, actually, we won't do the newly infested water bodies anymore because we already went through that. But proposed plan for 24, the next steps, and then some questions. So we'll just kind of keep it quick and answer anything that you might have. This is a quick pie chart of what the budget looks like. The approved amounts, we'll show you a little bit more of the actual numbers here in a minute, but it gives you an idea of what the amounts are allocated to. As you can see, the biggest was the inspection area for both 2023 and 2024, because obviously if we don't have inspectors, we can't have any AIS program. So here is kind of a review of what the money is being allocated towards. As we said kind of before, the inspection, level 1 inspection hours were 380,000 there. That's going to be one of the biggest areas where we're going to allocate that money towards. Decontamination, You'll also see a little bit more here in a bit, but education and awareness, milfoil treatment, and the early AIS detection. The total, for the 2024 total AIS projected expenses would be 572,000, with available funds of 581,000 projected.
And just to expand on, I'll get right to you, maybe I'll answer your question here. This is all proposed right now. This is what we just kind of went through with how we're looking at the next season going, improvements we are thinking about making, and then just balancing that budget at the end, because as we did, got approved in 2023 for that $5,000 reserve for Starry Track, putting that in there. We have that in here for 2024, but we want to get your feedback on a few things. So these numbers could change. These are just what we put in there, what we think the season's going to look like. And then these numbers could change based on your feedback throughout this presentation. Does that answer any of your questions or?
I just had a comment.
Sure.
So I like the comparison with the pie charts. Will be helpful on here if you had another column comparing proposed 24 against 23. Actual dollar amounts, because we can't see what changed.
Okay, yeah, and some of that'll be, and once we put the plan out, you'll see like the actual dollar amounts. But yep, we can do that. We can send you that.
That was by design.
That's what I think.
Alex, can you go back to that? I got one question on that. When it says DNR approved treatment, 28,500, is that for milfoil in lakes that don't have? Because some of the lakes are using their own, like, what does Aussie do if it needed to treat milfoil? Does it come out of this fund or do you raise it through your lid?
We will have a little slide here in just a minute on what the treatment is used for and who, the numbers and the associations and stuff. So you'll have a, we'll
I'll try to be patient, Alex.
Commissioner, I believe, just correct me if I'm wrong, that, like, so if Ozzy wants to use their $500 to do an EWM treatment, that's coming out of those monies that are dedicated for the milfoil DNR approved treatment, 28,500.
Yeah, this is a grant that we give to the Lake Association. So
Oh, okay,
obviously, you're looking at
that's
500
how they get it out of it. That's where they get it to get it from. Okay,
So again, grant reimbursement.
thank you.
Okay, so our proposed watercraft inspection hours would be 15,912. That would be for 43 lake access out of 149 public lake accesses. In order to figure out which lake accesses we would use, we relied on the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center model, which is called the AIS Explorer. On that model, it said 49 inspection stations needed to inspect 85 of the risky boats in our county. We have 43, and the main reason why we don't have 49 is because some of these might not be, the lake might be in Crow Wing County, but the access or the point of entry is in a different county, so.
Eric, I don't know how many of you know this, but the MACER tool is built using watercraft inspection data. So that is where the priority comes from, is what lake they're going to next and what lake they were on last. And they put that into the database, so just interesting. Yeah.
So here is a look at our map and the landings that we've covered or that we cover. Down at the bottom, you'll see kind of a risk score from very low to the high risk. Obviously red, you can tell that it is the high risk landings. So it's just a quick review of all of the areas that we cover, or the axes that we cover.
And what we're proposing in the 2024 plan, we are not changing anyone's hours. If you were a Friday to Sunday landing last year, you're going to be a Friday to Sunday landing this year. There's a slight tweak in the total number of hours just because of where the 4th of July holiday falls. So we always do that cover around the 4th of July if it's a Thursday. Even though you're Friday through Sunday coverage, we're going to cover it that Thursday. So that's, the hours might change slightly by like a day, but if you were Friday to Sunday, you're still going to be a Friday to Sunday covered lake. Okay, this will give you
a view of what the inspections trends look like here in our county. So we can see 2019, we had, looks like just about over 45,000 inspections. You can see in 2020, we had a really high year. 2022 was pretty low, but then we also had a very short number of inspectors, which is that orange line that on the graph. And then in 2023, we're able to increase the number of inspectors, and also, you know, with that comes more inspections being done throughout the county. Okay, so what we, one of the proposals that we have would be to increase wages for 2024. We would do $18 an hour for the first year, $19 an hour for the second year if you're returning for a second year, $20 an hour for a third year, and then $21 an hour for our lead inspector. And then we also have the level, or the decon level 2 inspectors, which receive a $1 incentive. So, you know, if it's $19 an hour, if they're doing level 2, they'd be $20 an hour. So one of the reasons why we'd like to do this is, you know, we're having to compete, like Justin said, with other counties, other agencies. So we'd like to bring back some of the inspectors that were with us last year. And then, you know, it's less training. They already kind of know what we're doing. So hopefully with this, it'll give them a reason to come back again and continue working with us. And our goal would be to have 60 inspectors for this year. Yes.
Did the level 2s always get that extra dollar? Is that something new?
That is something new we're proposing for the 2024, just because our main reason is it's hard for us to hire level 2. Part of it is because I'm not going to do a little bit more physical work if I don't get paid a little more. Jessamine stole one of our level 2s last year. No, she didn't steal. Tyler will
That's actually
not.
our competition.
No, but that was like something he is always wanting, so he was great. Hopefully he's great for you. But that's something we heard from them. And,
Okay.
you know,
He was
we're
on the
doing
houseboat. His name was up on the houseboat. He helped us with the houseboat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't remember seeing that before.
Yep,
so
no,
that
we have
is
not
new.
had that.
Okay.
So too, depending on your input, you know, another thing we can do is we obviously have options. You know, we can leave the wages the same as they were in 2023, depending on the information or the feedback we get from you guys. Increase only returning inspectors, maybe $1 an hour more. No extra $1 incentive for the level 2 inspectors. Or if you guys have any other suggestions, we'd certainly love to hear those too on what, you know, the best way to keep bringing back inspectors and keeping them here. Yeah.
Do you guys pay holiday pay when they work on holidays, or do you guys they have any incentives like that? No.
We did not do holiday plans.
No, the only new thing is we now have to do the time off.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and track that, and keep track of that.
Yep, so we'll have to do that. Is this the only wage slide here? Because I really want, hopefully, this is one of the biggest, without going too much further yet, this is one of the larger expenditures for the proposal for next year. And so anybody online or obviously in the room, if you have any concern or comment on wages, this would be a great time to have the discussion on that. But this would be eating up or using a good chunk of the monies right here, this piece of it.
And it's important now because this is when we're going to go publish and ask for public comment. And so before we publish and ask for public comment, we're asking for Lake Association comment. So if you have comments about that, this is probably the single most substantive change that's proposed. And we think it will get us additional inspection hours and eliminate the issue we've had where we can't deliver. We think this will help us to get to where we can deliver what we said, but we need to.
Well, where do these inspectors come from? Are they students? Are they retired people? Who are they?
Yeah, we have a big variety.
I would say this past season, it was probably 30 to 50% retired folks, and then, you know, maybe a college students, so not many college students as you might think, a lot of them are retired people. And then a handful, maybe 30 to 50, and mostly local retired.
It's my suggestion is, targeting more towards the people that actually show up to do that job. You reach out to that specific group. Like an ad in the paper nowadays doesn't do much of anything for anybody.
Yeah, we don't recruit through ads in the paper anymore. Our primary recruiting spot right now is Indeed, online. And we are also active on social media and LinkedIn. And so we used to be able to put an ad in the dispatch, and that's how we hired pretty near everybody. We don't put an ad in the dispatch anymore because it doesn't generate leads. So we have to go where it's going to generate leads. Right now, we think that's Indeed. If others have suggestions for better sites that we should be on, all ears. Because recruitment is what we're spending a great deal of time doing.
They're doing some Facebook, some social media stuff
Some of that. And we had a decent amount, I don't know exact number, I'd say a handful of, we have quite a few returning inspectors that have been with us for more than 5 years. And it's just a lot of word of mouth. Sometimes it's, hey, I was at the landing and I talked to the inspector and I think I could be really good at this. I'd really enjoy this. So that, and hey, my friend's been an inspector for 5 years. He really enjoys it. He told me to come apply and thought I could do a good job. So it's our inspectors that are out there. That's one of our biggest.
When I had taken environmental studies classes at the CLC, we made a point to encourage them to apply. So I don't know if you ever got anybody from there. But
Last year a little bit. We had a staff member that was like student teaching over there and he spread the word for us. We got a few applicants from there. And we do their job fairs when they have them there. We attend those as well.
If we get a referral, Susan, we'll give you a free AIS towel.
So every year we bring back about how many of our staff then, every year?
It used to be about half our staff was returners. I'd say it's dropped to about 35–40% are returning, so about 15-ish.
Those are the ones who are returning have been 5, 7, 8 years in the county.
Maybe I'm
I
on
just
slide
want
this year.
Back there.
I think that you're addressing the problem in the right way, that you can influence. I don't know if dollar and wage, it's not the only solution, but it's the only solution you can control. The whole economy is facing this, and it's not dollars, it's attitude. There's just a different attitude. The employee is king now. It always was the employer was king, and you just basically did it. Now there's so many jobs available. You can quit one job and in 2 days have another job. And that's your market now. That will change over the time, but you're just in the segment of time in history where the employee is king and not the employer. There are people that work and they've been late to work 3 times in a month and they don't fire them because they know they can't find somebody to replace them. So they just give them a stern talking to, but that's all they can do. But, you're just in that. I think those are good ideas and I think you got some good options. But what influenced this culture? Well, the economy, but also social media had a big influence on people's attitudes about work. The whole idea that mom and dad tell you to work a hard job, okay, that works, but now that isn't being reinforced. So social media is a new parent. And the new parent is saying, you deserve this, you deserve this, and da-da-da. And it's just a reality of our culture. But I think that what you're doing is a good job because that's the only thing you can really control.
I would agree. I don't think the wage structure is unreasonable at all. And it's certainly competitive with the local market here, if not slightly above it, I would guess. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not in tune with that, but I think it's a reasonable approach.
I was just curious how many of your staff are full, like you said, goal of 60 inspectors. Is that 60 full-time inspectors or 60 part-time inspectors, or what are you expecting out of your inspectors?
These are all part-time. We let them know when they're hired that it's going to be a part-time position.
Okay.
Depending upon how many staff we get, they could work, because we work 9-hour shifts. It could work up to 36 hours a week, depending on the expanded coverage requests and how much staff we have. But typically, we tell them you're gonna get 2 to 3 days a week is what their typical schedule is gonna be. So they're not full-time staff.
Is there any of your staff that would like to be full-time, or is there a reason that you're not having them be full-time? I guess is my question.
I would say,
I raised my hand there.
Oh, sorry.
from the inspector standpoint, like the feedback, some really want to work, they would work 8 days a week if it were possible, and some want to work 17.35 hours on these landings. No more, no less. You know, if I get more, I'm quitting. If I get less, I'm quitting. So it's not a good or bad thing, but it's very mixed from the inspector standpoint.
Sure. Interesting.
And we have to remember, we're asking them to work weekends. I mean, who wants to work every single weekend?
In a resort area. Yeah, exactly.
I just actually was contacted by a guy who lives on Big Sandy who was looking for an inspector job, and he's retired and he wanted part-time weekends only because he doesn't like being on the lake on the weekends because it's too busy.
That's
Who wants to
what
be on the lake on the
Yeah.
weekend?
Call us.
I could, I told him to call Aiken County, but.
Oh, yeah.
What? What do you mean call Aiken County? We're Fort Wayne here.
It changes in every county.
Not Friday night. Is there any feedback from anybody online?
Phil chimed in, he said, I believe county staff are better equipped to know what the pay needs to be in order to attract enough qualified candidates. If more pay gets more and better inspectors, I'd support it. And he also mentioned just to continue sending our inspector recruitment flyers to lake associations so that you guys can distribute to your members or any meetings that you guys might attend and see fit.
If we're getting retired people as a primary recruitment, then we need to get into those lake association newsletters.
The older inspectors live on.
That's where they reside. That's where they reside.
Like the one I just.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And we do hear that a lot as well, as like a lot of people that do come work for us are like, oh, I don't care about working weekends. I don't want to be on the lake during the week. So hear a lot of that.
Early inspector is a good example of that. He loves it because he can go fish on them during the week when no one's there and then doesn't have to deal with the weekend.
Did you have another?
One thing I'm doing is my board asked me to go to the high schools. So I'm going to the public high schools and I'm saying, you know, who the Mississippi Headwaters Board is. And then I'm talking about careers in the environment. And I always try to bring up, you know, not everybody who works with the environment is a conservation officer. You know, and I start going, DNR has 5 divisions and there's 500 people in each division or so. And I talk about there's project managers, there's accountants, and then I go through NPCA, and then I go through soil and water. And then I also bring up, and you know, the county has AIS inspectors. I say, just get out there and do something, you know. But it's kind of, once you start getting the teachers and start talking to the kids and have a presence, you know, juniors and seniors is who I'm talking to, you know, maybe it generates something. And I've had some people say, oh, that would be a great job, and they give me some contact information.
One of our inspectors this year, Chloe, I think, I can't remember, between high school and starting, I think, at Bemidji State in environmental science, was an inspector because she wanted to get kind of in that mindset and do an environmental, you know, esque job. So, yeah, it's worked.
Any contrary feedback?
It's kind of in line with entry-level DNR pay. They bumped our starting wage for our inspectors up to, I can't remember, it's 18 something an hour too, so you guys are right in line with us. So it's a little bit more, but I don't remember the cents.
There was a slide in the first presentation where they listed some of the concerns the inspectors had. You're addressing all those. One I remember was the bathrooms. If you have an older person inspecting, you know, that's an issue. You know, how do we address something like that? Maybe not wages, it's maybe convenience.
They try to schedule them the best they can at those, or close to proximity to the town, you know, but it is almost impossible to guarantee somebody a bathroom. We tried to ask the DNR to put all their porta potties back. I think he did a pretty good job on most of them.
Obviously, what I would say is, if an employee of ours needs to go to the bathroom,
They get to go to the.
they get to go to the bathroom. And I don't care if the bathroom is just down the
Yeah.
hall or it's 5 miles to town. They get to go to the bathroom. We have to provide that as an employer.
What they're looking for is that convenience.
Exactly. I love that the bathroom was right there, but sometimes it's not. And if you gotta go, we're not telling people you can't go.
Yeah.
I will say too, that there's times that the bathroom is right there, but they're not using that bathroom because it hasn't been cleaned and it was a busy weekend.
I'm right there with you on that one.
Steve from CAS Online says that they put rented porta potties at all inspected accesses, but it's expensive. We do rent one at our Cross Lake Decon location, we put that out there. But otherwise, the county, through our AIS program, we do not supply porta potties at the moment.
That is something we could. If you would rather the money is spent that way, just understand that it's trade-offs, right? It will come at the expense of inspection hours.
Yeah.
That's where the lion's share of the expense is.
I think we have 5 or 6, maybe right around 6, landings that do not have a bathroom. Most of them, a bathroom is within a mile or two. There's a couple that's a little farther. And I know for the porta potty at the Cross Lake location, it's about $100 a month that we pay. So that would be May, June, July, August, at least 4 months of a porta potty out there. So that's $400, $500 per landing. But it is an option.
What do you guys think?
44 landings.
No.
Oh, most of them.
No,
Most of them
if we
have.
were to
Probably
expand,
10.
extrapolate that to.
Probably
Yeah.
about 10.
Yeah.
Our lake hires one, and ours is $1,050 for those few months. So that might be a low figure, depends on who you can get.
Right.
You get the scented one though.
It must be really nice.
Lighted.
I've checked it twice just out of curiosity, and it was fine.
Let's spray my face before I go in.
Right.
When we first started looking, though, it was hard to find companies that would service the
Yes.
landings because of all the problems that they have.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just assumed that was kind of the going rate. Maybe we should be checking again.
Yeah, and also they need to be handicap accessible, and there's only limited quantity that's
Sure.
available. Is another problem.
If we provide the facility, it has to be ADA compliant.
Hmm.
If we don't supply the facility, that's okay too.
Yeah, I don't know if ours is or not. Small.
So does your
Probably
lake
is not.
association pay that?
We paid it through lid funds for a while, but when we got desperate for money, then the association took it over. So that's how I know the dollar figure, because we had to take it out of our budget. We couldn't afford it.
Anybody think we should do different than what's up there?
That's good.
Great.
We'll put it out for public comment and we'll see. And I would encourage our inspectors, if they think that's an issue, you know, there are things we can do. And so I appreciate that you're paying attention to what our inspectors are telling us. I think when I think about that slide, I think we probably have dealt with 80% of what we heard. And I'm curious to see whether the remaining 20% shows up again. Great. Any other feedback on this one? This is really the big one.
Yes.
I agree.
You're not alone.
Go ahead, Eric.
All right, so here's some more information on our decons. What we're proposing is to allocate 423 hours to the Cross Lake Permanent Station, and then allocate 936 to our 2 mobile decons, so we can move those around to wherever we might need them. And then we also want to increase education and outreach for the decon units, make sure people know that they're out there, understand what they're for. So
This is one of them, if you remember, it was a little bit ago, I don't know if we have when we do this, we should also refresh their memory on the usage. 1,100 and some hours paid 400 inspection, 400 decons, I believe, right around there. So when you think about the investment, this is a big investment with not a lot of activity going on. We've always had it, but just something, food for thought. Is this where we should be spending our money on decon when there's just not a lot? I mean, they'll say one decon can save a lake. It's like, you know, if you think that, then this is the most, we should just do decon, period. A lot of money spent here, and you don't see the level of activity coming through there like you would, you know, just regular inspections.
Is
So
it-
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is it location? Are they spotted right place?
Well, it is kind of an internal debate too, of, you know, we've had that Cross Lake one and it's kind of known about. However, the mobile decons, you almost get a 2-for-1. They can do level 1 inspections, and if somebody comes through that needs a decon, they can go over there and do the decon too. So it's almost a best of both worlds when they're the mobile, and they're convenient. We try to have them conveniently located in the middle somewhere of the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. But it's similar to the car wash in Breezy. When you make a change like that, not everybody's always going to be happy. You know, there's winners and losers on that stuff. You say.
Can you tell us what happened in Breezy?
Oh, sure. Breezy, they partnered with it's the
Pelican Lake Conservation.
Pelican Square to use their car wash as a decon. So they partnered with them, and what we found was just not very many people used it. So the investment in the Lake Association, or LID, I was Lake Association, they don't have LID. We're paying up for hours to staff a decon, so it basically going through the car wash at the convenience store, and they were getting 8 or 9, you know, very, very low numbers. So it's at what point do you continue something that just the use is so minimal?
The slide in the first presentation of total inspections, so expanded coverage, decon, our plan, about 0.49 of those are decon surveys out of 50,000.
Less than 0.5%.
Well, when you went to the hours of 9 to 6, there's no way that those people are gonna sit at that, because that one year we tried that, and we weren't gonna spend the money on somebody sitting there, and then they couldn't stand being in the building because it was too claustrophobic or too narrow. So we've determined they're crashing the equipment because nobody wants it, and it's sad, because it's something that happened in 2017, and it was a go, but then it didn't, and it's too narrow of a garage. So that's where that status is. It's still on the agenda of saying, where did you dispose of the equipment yet? No, you know.
Our decon hours are staffed a little bit differently. Our decon, and much like the DNR, their time starts when they get to the truck, and they end when they get back, versus our level 1 inspectors, their time starts when they get to the landing and when they leave the landing.
You know, I have a friend who comes visits and stays with me every year, and he's from Rochester, so he doesn't know where the decon stations are. He will, because he's a fisherman, he will pull off all the weeds and stuff, and I think a lot of people will do that. Filling for villagers, and that's a kind of a skill where, you know, but they will pull. I see people, even without inspectors, pulling off weeds and doing that, and just because they think it's, you know, it's a good thing to do. And they want to protect their lakes a little bit. But as far as decons, for bringing up that information, I talked with Steve Henry from Cass County, and they have those clean, drain, dry machines or whatever, that CD3s. And I think a conversation is worth with him, because he says it's kind of like a sign, and he goes, even if people see the sign, they'll use the stick and just kind of do it. They don't need somebody telling them. And what's nice about CD3 is it keeps track of use. so you can keep track of how many times that was used. Now, they're kind of expensive.
Well, we're good. We're not, probably need a new board to buy those and this for now. I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked to 4 out of the 5, not John on that.
Oh, yeah, that's only because I'm here. Thanks.
But, they don't technically got the CW, they just did like these little nail on a post and, a little grabber to help people and stuff like that.
Is that what they have?
Yeah, that's what-
And maybe that's, but I did have Steve yesterday on the phone, and he said, we are getting people using the stick. And just even if they're not using the stick, we'll see them pull over because they see the stick. And I think that's worth the conversation, whether you should put it into your budget, that might be a different thing. But maybe you don't need this, and you don't need this, you need somewhere in the middle. Because those things are so expensive.
And what we've heard, like Alex got them and, you know, they're like 12, 14,000. And so nobody's there and 1 out of 100 boats use them. And so is that really worth the investment? The CD3, oh, it can decon your boat right there, but
Right.
it's if nobody's there, if I don't have to use it, I'm too busy. I want to get on lake, get out of there.
Right. And that's what the numbers tell you.
That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah, if the numbers are telling you that, then, yeah. And they're
We advertise our location, we put on one of our weekly tasks is to change the location on the DNR map, on our internal county map that's publicly available, and also we have a decon text hotline that will tell you every week where the decon is, the address and the lake.
So maybe not this year, but the Cross Lake Decon is getting old. It's 7 or 8 years old, the actual machine. That will be due one of these times for either recondition or replacement, and it will be a decision point if we make that investment or just go with the mobile.
Do you guys, what was I gonna say? With your decon units, first off, like, it's kind of it's a salesperson thing to get people to use the decons. It's more of a customer service thing. We have highly variable numbers amongst our level 2s across the state. There's one guy who worked on Red Lake this summer over in Region 1, and he has some ridiculous number, like 800 and some decons that he did this year. He was like, he's just really good at getting people to just go over and do a decon. So I think too, with some of the training behind it, like we've really been working with our staff to kind of help them figure out how to encourage people to use the decon units more. And I think some of that takes time too, just a suggestion. And then with the CD3s, there was one that was over at the Shabushkang landing for quite some time. It might still be there, CD3. And our staff work at that landing. People bring their cars and vacuum them out there, and that counts as a use. And so if people press the button to see what it does, and that counts as a use. So there's some fuzzy stuff around how much people are actually using them too. So, yeah.
It's a new word for my vocabulary. It'll work fine. Thank
You
you.
like that one, fuzzy stuff?
Yeah, that little fuzzy stuff.
Yeah.
That's all gooder for me.
In your initial report, you said the decons were used percentage-wise. It went from 2-point-some% to 4 whatever percent.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for the DNR.
yeah. Oh, that was the DNI?
Yeah.
Okay. So people are using them.
And a lot of that does have to do with, we can't put the decon at every plant. So,
Do you guys post your decon units on the statewide website too?
Yep.
Oh, you do? Okay, I haven't noticed that. But you have a separate one as well.
we do, so yeah, you could go to a county GIS map, interactive map, and go over there, you go to the DNR one, or
The important thing there is we are still planning to do decon consistent with what we have done in the past years. That's a choice.
Throwing out options.
That's a priority. And if you guys feel like we should be shifting those priorities, that is really the purpose of this meeting, is so that we get that feedback from you. You see what we're going to put out to public comment. Unless you tell us differently. So is there any other feedback on decon about whether we should not do it? I don't hear anybody saying we should not do it yet.
You know, it's how you do it, I guess. It's a trade-off, where do you get your most bang for your buck? Is it just inspections and we need more inspectors? And we're not gonna get all the inspectors we want this year. We could offer them whatever, gazillion dollars an hour, they're not gonna be enough inspectors out there.
But even if we traded it off,
Yeah.
I'm not sure we could deliver it.
Yeah. I think the hole right there, at least I'm seeing is the amount of inspectors. You got the budget to do them, but you just don't have inspectors. And how do you get these warm bodies in here?
I think one more year,
I was thinking
let's
that
see
too.
how well we do with the inspections. Because if we tried to increase the inspection hours, we might not be able to deliver it anyway.
Right.
So let's at least deliver the decon. That was our thinking, but back to you guys.
One more year of decon and see if we get from 4% to 6%. Let's see if it's an upward trend or if it's gonna, do that. I don't know. You guys are the number crunchers. You kind of know it more than us, you know? We gotta rely on you.
And basically it's, are we close? If we're close, then that's probably as good as we're gonna get, because everybody's got different points of view. If it's close, then I think it's good enough for prime time. Thanks, Eric.
We'll continue on here. Next here we have our proposed education and outreach. So education outreach materials for our aquatic invasive species presentations for public schools, youth groups, civic organizations. Grant for up to 25 lake associations that participate in the county's Starry Search program. So one of the options we would have would be reduce the amount that we would provide the lake associations to 200 per landing. The option B would be to keep that amount at 300 like we had this past year. Option C would be to discontinue the Starry Search program. The other thing too that we have is the water Eurasian water milfoil treatment reimbursement. Ozzy and Emily received 500 of that each for reimbursement. What we had this past year was 3,500 in reimbursements. One of the options could be to reduce that to 2,500, or maybe option C would be to reduce that to 1,500, just depending on, what you guys believe would be the best option for our county to go.
For the group, Eric, do you know, or Jessica, how many lake associations participated in Starry Search?
6.
Just 6 countywide?
6 countywide, with 10 landings.
10 landings out of 100 and some?
Well, there's 34 landings eligible for the Starry Search
Okay.
that we budgeted for.
So it's a third of available.
Oh,
Kind of a, should we keep the program? Is it important to you? And if so, should we be doing more of it or less of it? And if it's more of it, what would you like that to come at the expense of?
Well, Helen and I participated the last 2 years with the 4 accesses. So this year we got $1,200. But I still think it's important that we do this, because the minute we don't, there's no way I want Pelican to be invested in my terms. I don't know, as far as the money amount, I don't say we need the money.
It's not huge.
But we have a person who does it. We pay her mileage and we pay her hourly. So this year came to $120. Last year was about the same.
I hear Susan saying we should continue to do that. What say the rest of you?
I think it's a good idea to continue to do it, but you could possibly reduce it down to option A.
200.
I think you should continue one more year, see how it is. And, there are, for pennies on the dollar, you could push that out on social media to people, which is how people are, absorbing media now. People, it's good to have the access to hand somebody a piece of paper, But if you're reminding them on social media all the time, that's kind of how people don't hang things up on the refrigerator anymore. They're just kind of getting it. So, just is our society changing? It's pennies now to get out posts and stuff. And LinkedIn is, well, not LinkedIn, but whatever, Crow Wing County could say, maybe we want to use a different system, use Crow Wing's website and push out some of this stuff that way. That's an option.
Advertise heavily in our bi-weekly Lake Association updates. We have a couple hundred email, and that gets blasted every 2 weeks. We have this grant, got this grant for 2 weeks. Yeah.
I heard Dave suggest keeping the program, but reducing it to 200 a landing, and I saw Susan's head nod, yes. And now I see a third nod, yes. So that, what do you think?
I just think these 25 lakes, why is it only 6?
Yeah.
Well, they're not thinking it's important. They don't worry because the Starry's not there. They don't.
Well, and my question, I guess, I think it's really important to keep it, and I don't know about the dollar amount, but I'm wondering if you had 2 people doing it, do you have 1 person doing it? If you had 2 people doing it, then that's gonna cost you 240, so I'm thinking that, I mean, because they did encourage that we would have more than 1 person. I know our lake only has 1, but there could be 2 for some lakes. I'm not sure if the 200 would cover what you're talking about.
It's trying to find somebody.
But finding somebody to do
It's
it.
going to commit to
Yeah.
4 landings, 3 July, August, and September.
So your person does all 4 landings?
Yeah, at one.
Well, I guess for our own lake down Crow Wing Lake, we're having, I call it AIS fatigue. We've been beating this, I won't call it dead horse, but we've been beating this message now for umpteen years. And oh my God, Starry Ward now is, what else is going to be happening here? And I think we're being lost in clutter. How we break through that, that's a damn good question. That's why we didn't really have much interest in that. People like, well, it's just something else. Oh, it's the spiny flea or whatever. That's something else, yeah. So you're suffering from fatigue at this point here. It's just one thing after another. And also, we have a lake improvement district down there, and living in dollars and cents here, but their stance is becoming that, well, it's the government, it's the state's property. It's not our lake, it's the state's property. Why don't they take care of it? Why is it up to us to handle this stuff here? And it's not a good attitude, but unfortunately, that's what we're kind of dealing with right now as far as this, I call it fatigue factor. Also, I have, and this was a couple of years ago, in front of our group, and it's like here, we're talking to the choir. These are people that have interest in this sort of thing. And the population generally may not have that level of interest, but we were talking to the choir. They showed up and they wanted the donuts, of course, and the free coffee. But I surveyed them. Okay, how many people here, show of hands, believe that through our actions, we can stop the spread of, and I use the zebra mussel example. Show of hands here. A few hands went up. Okay, how many people believe that we can't stop? It'll be nature or someone else. It was over half the people. It's just they threw the towel in, we can't stop it anyway. That's what we're up against here. And like the inspections, which are certainly an important thing, my contention has always been, maybe talking too much here, but that's what I do. My contention is it's all or nothing. If we are going to actually inspect the lake, it is inspected and locked down. You can't get on the lake unless your watercraft is inspected. And we have, I mean, just because of funding wise, we just have a, occasional inspection on the weekend there. And he does an excellent job if people are down there. But we have personally, I know I live on the lake. Each evening, we have a number of bass fishermen come popping in, cruise the lake, casting on your dock and whatever else, and they head out to the next lake. How many of those boats are inspected? Do they really care about what's coming in that lake? Maybe, maybe not. And those are the people you actually have to hit. So that's, again, I call it the fatigue factor that we're talking choir right here, right now. Obviously, there's people that showed up and have interest in that, but Is that what translates to the general population?
We have that same debate
Oh, yeah.
at the county board. Some members of the county board think, and I think of the way it has been put is, the horse is already out of the barn. That's the way it's been put by one of our county board members. Others are saying that the effort will slow the spread. From a staff perspective, I can tell you, it is not our place. It is not our place. And so we're going to let public policymakers with election certificates decide whether or not the DNR should take care of this or not. Our choice from a staff perspective is, do we want the 462,000 or do we want to send it back? I think in this county, if the county board said, we're going to send that money back, we're not going to do it, I think you'd have a revolution on your hands.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of people want to talk for 3 minutes.
I get that there are public policy questions here about whether or not this is a good use of public funds. I get that. I don't think we can solve that today here. It's going to get solved in St. Paul and it's going to get solved at the county board level. And if the county board tells us we're out of this business, then we're out of this business and we'll send the 462,000 back. I don't think that's what we're facing today, though. Right now, our direction from the board is we are in this program.
Yep.
And so we're here talking to you today about how to do it and to what extent and in what ways. Not really seriously considering whether we're going to do this or not because we have our work direction.
And when those types of questions come up at my annual meeting, I tell them the state is paying, that's where the money came from, the 400 and some thousand. They are funding these efforts. You know, we're not, our own people aren't paying for that protection. The state is paying that.
Right. But what they're seeing, and your point's well taken, but as an example, we're seeing inspectors show up on weekends.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
You know, so they're not seeing a lot of bang for the buck there. If you're part of a lake improvement district or an association, you know, the members are shelling in X dollars for a public entity. Again, your point's well taken as far as, you know, this train's on the track and it's moving down there. We're just kind of fiddling around the edges as far as where the actual money goes to. And truly, like this story, Stoneward, where I think it is, another AIS, it's such a small fraction of the budget. We can, you know, nibble on the edges there, but it doesn't really make much difference. The big dollars was the inspectors. And that's where we got to focus our attention. How do we get more inspectors to the schools, the lake associations, old retired fogies like myself, you know, whatever it has to be. That's where the bang for the buck actually is.
Yes. And that's why I drew your attention to it when we were talking about it, that this is the big one.
Points well taken.
This is the substantive
Like
one.
the pie chart.
Yeah,
Chart of it.
and think back to your pie chart, 75% of the expense was on the other stuff. These things are not big, but they could be redirected. And so before, you know, this is what you do when you put a plan together, you're going to make a series of choices. And we're trying to ask you guys to help us make the choice.
And if the money wasn't coming from the state, I can pretty much tell you that the board that I serve on, there would probably be no vote to levy that much money from the county's coffers for the lakes.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Whether you like it or not, I think it's accurate.
that's just facts. And so if we got the money coming in from the state and the state's giving us that, let's do the best job we can with it. And I think we're doing the best job we can, but there is, like you said, there is those fringes out there. You know, the majority of it is inspections. We have the challenge with lake associations that want to spend more money to help us with those inspections. We can't even cover our own plus theirs and end up with a shortfall where we got money laying around we have to do something with. And I know what some of those lake associations would like us to do with that money.
So the first 8 years of the program of AIS were the glory years. We could try new things. We're kind of figuring it out. Obviously, inspectors. The next 8 years, prioritization. What do we have to cut? And you know what the next 8 years after that is gonna be? We're just doing education just like all the other states. If we don't get an increase in AIS funding, it's all gonna be education, because that's what all the other 49 states do. Minnesota stepped up with 10 million. Most AIS programs are like, here, the state's gonna make pamphlets like that, and whenever you
We're gonna
ask
hand
for
them
it,
out.
we're gonna hand them out. And that's their program. Iowa has that, Midwestern states have that. Minnesota put enough money out there for inspectors, but if they don't increase it, and it's not the shiny penny anymore, education, like you said, it's inspectors, but then you're not gonna have enough money for inspectors. But you don't have to deal with that. We're dealing with today, right now. But that's what's gonna happen. Every government program works like that. You get this wonderful funding, it works, and then you run out, then you prioritize, and then eventually it's just another side job for somebody to do. And that's the thing until, but here we are now, we're in the prioritization stage. We just gotta make the decisions for where we're at. And, education is one way to do it, but eventually it will just all be education. $10 million will just go towards education because inflation will do it.
You're so nice.
I'm just a realist.
So just a little bit more information on the starting search
On
program.
the last slide, sorry, just on the, I know we were trying to get going here, on the Eurasian water milfoil. A couple options there. It was 2,500 for quite a few years. We increased it to 3,500 last year to help eat up some of that rollover. I know that treatment is very expensive. We all do. Some options there. That 3,500 a good number? Should we reduce that to 2,500? Like you said, everything we do here affects what we're paying our inspectors.
Yeah, is it important that we continue that grant program?
I would say yes. I can tell you just for inspection of Lake Ozzie, it's $4,000. That's without treatment.
So that was an important component of the program for you, Dave?
It was when we still had milfoil.
Okay.
So, yeah. It helps offset the cost.
I agree, it helps a lot.
I don't see any objections to it. Thank you.
Did you decide on the previous of the $200, $300? Did we say we were gonna change that?
I got mixed, I heard
Well,
mixed messages.
My comment there, it could be one lake, and that's different than having one lake access versus 4. So you can't look at me.
Well, that might be a way to parse it then. Depends on the number of accesses.
Well, it is.
Boy.
It's 300.
Lapolla's gonna get 40 grand. No.
We're talking about $100, and so it's not gonna eat up your budget one way or another, so.
But you have to buy the tools if you don't have them, and then all these other lakes don't have that.
We supplied the tools.
What?
Didn't we give you the tools?
No.
Oh, we didn't.
We had to buy them for that.
But we
That
have
would-
it from the year before.
That would lead you
Right.
towards keeping it at 300.
Well, at least to give incentive, at least get some
You
of
might
the
get more
lakes
lakes to
involved.
participate.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Susie. Yeah, maybe just leaving it, maybe we would get more than 6.
Well, and see, over time.
I'd say leave it then if you gotta buy tools
Yeah.
too.
I think so too.
Grant program for Eurasian water milfoil. I heard a number of you say that that was highly valued. Any views to the contrary? Thank you.
All right, we'll continue on. Just kind of more information, like I said, on the starting search. The preparedness plan, we have a budget and annual reserve to be ready to act in the event of an infestation. First option would be keep at 5,000. Option B would be to reduce to 2,500, or option C would be nothing in 2024 and keep what we currently have, the 5,000 from 2023 in reserve.
To kind of elaborate on this, last year we started this program. In theory, we tried to spend all the money. Right now, Crow Wing County doesn't have Starry Stone work. If it shows up, we wanted to have some money to reach out to whatever lake gets infected and say, we're here to help you, to help that spread not go to the next lake and the next lake. So the idea is that we continue to have some reserve to be able to mobilize whatever we can to try to, and I'm not up to speed on what the best treatment is, if it's cut, if it's herbicide or what have you to treat it, but that we would have something there. So the options are, do we continue to build that, reduce it, or kind of leave it alone, same as the other options?
There's 5K in carryover from 23. So if you keep it at 5,000, you're essentially saying you're going to build a fund of 10.
And is there anything wrong with that?
No, I mean, I'm just making sure that you guys understand what the options are.
Because I don't know what the cost would be if you have a lake infected, what it would cost to go after it.
A rapid response, I would say $5,000 is not going to cover a rapid response.
So keep building that reserve. If it isn't being used, keep building that reserve until we have an adequate amount to be able to do a project if and when, and it's probably more when than if.
If you continue to have a surplus, I'm always in favor of building up a bank account.
I can tell you that research, and maybe DNR can correct me, but I talked to Lake Coronis, which had the Starry Stonewort poster child for that, and they tried some, I don't know if it's pesticide or whatever, just at the access. They knew they weren't gonna get the whole lake, but the whole lake was terrible. And they just got it at the access, and it beat it back. And they said, and I talked to the AIS coordinator, and he said, we got rid of it at the access, but not at the whole lake, just at the access. So, there is some treatment options for it that we didn't have 8 years ago. But, we just gotta wait for research to kind of catch up. We don't even understand zebra mussels or any of this. We're just kind of trying to figure it out as we go.
Seems like option A is probably the most logical thing, just keep building the fund up. When it hits the fan, we have some money to do something with it.
Okay. Well, moving along here.
That makes sense.
We kind of discussed this already, but this is the milfoil treatments, the money that we provide to help assist with the treatments. And we kind of already talked a little bit about that in that 2 slides ago with the amounts. So, early AIS detection, zebra mussel veliger sampling for up to 25 uninfested lakes by designated aquatic invasive species. Spiny waterflea sampling for up to 10 lakes that are uninfested by designated aquatic invasive species detection. So,
Is that a program that you guys find?
Why?
I mean, if no cost to you guys,
The early
you pay for the
detection.
bigger sampling.
But
you
why
just
only
gotta
10
do-
lakes on the spiny waterflea? How do you determine?
We go through what's uninfested. So that amount varies by a couple. But we go through the infested or uninfested list, and then we send that out when it's that time of year to the Lake Association, say, here's who qualifies, here's what we can test for, whether it's zebra mussels or spiny waterflea. We just budget for that because that's about what usually gets turned into us.
Well, I know we participate with Little Pelican, and I think that satisfies our people there. At least we're trying and watching out for them.
And it's right around 2,500 to 3,000, depending on how many samples we get in. So it's not a huge portion of our budget, but I know I think it's very important to get that testing
They
done.
all add up, eventually, but, it's like, Ruth, to your point, though, only 10, if we had 15 requests, we probably would try to figure out how to meet it, and then the next budget then adjust accordingly.
I just wasn't aware, I guess, that there are a lot of Crow Wing County lakes that are already infested with spiny waterflea.
Just one, I thought.
Well, that's what I thought. That's why that wasn't making sense to me. Okay.
It's just they haven't been turning in the samples.
Okay.
I tried to do it, but I couldn't find a filter soon enough before it timed out.
Oh, yeah, you need to really find.
Yeah, so in the emails that you sent out, you could send a link to a place where you buy the filter, because I couldn't get it.
I think there usually is a link, maybe
I
it wasn't
didn't
available.
find it. I couldn't find one, so. I picked everything up at services, but I couldn't find the. So it might have been my mistake.
Well, I'm sure you include something for you.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Make it obvious.
It sounds like we'll kind of leave that alone and keep seeing how it goes. Okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead here, yeah.
All right, and it seems like every time I got something thinking in my mind, but it's good, that's what we want to hear from you guys. So just kind of a summary of our proposed plan. It would be the main one, increase watercraft inspector wages. That's in the hopes to attract more inspectors to fulfill planned hours and expanded coverage hours. And then create, another thing, for the outreach, it creates simplified educational handouts. A lot of the inspectors have asked that maybe boaters or the public would like something just kind of small that they are able to give, and it just kind of gives them information. So we'll make some simple handouts to be able to hand out or to give away.
If I could jump in, Eric, I'm sorry. I wanted everybody to maybe, if you have any comment, if you see the Protect Our Lakes and stuff, that was like 2014, 15. At some point we were thinking, man, we should maybe refresh or try to, not rebrand, but, you know, take another run at the educational handouts. Because at some point they maybe just get a little stale. You know, what is people's thoughts on that? Not to, you know, just spend money where maybe it's not needed, but I mean, these are nice, don't get me wrong, but I think saying it a different way or coming up with something a little bit different sometimes can maybe re-energize or fight that fatigue that we heard earlier too. But they're approaching 10 years old and we haven't changed them. You know, they've done a good job, there's no doubt about that, but just food for thought.
I took the Master Naturalist course that was at the Loon Center this spring, and our small group did a project on AIS. So the Loon Center wanted a brochure or something about AIS, so we created our own brochure that they're going to utilize in some means. So just so you know that that's circulating.
Okay.
And then we had to do a presentation to the whole group and to the board, I think it's across the board.
Loon Center?
Yeah.
That sounds a little loony to me.
Well, the program was held there, it was sponsored by them, or it's a statewide or a federal, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was interest there, and so we created a draft one that we presented as our project.
Do we have somebody at the county that does some that is good with words and marketing?
I don't know if we have any official, I know,
Who's helped you with those signs and some of that other stuff?
We've used external vendors when we get into a graphics oriented.
Yeah, that's what I.
Like this. And so I think
we
that's
have
what
3 or
Gary's
4
really
kind of
asking
on
is,
call that we,
should we go out and refresh this? Or is this still working, doing fine? Does it need a refresh? And I think it does get to your question of fatigue. A fresh look.
And we're using those funds to do this, correct?
That's correct.
So
We're thinking it might be time to refresh, but
What about
we're
the
looking for feedback.
sticker that DNR had? You know, it's something that's on the boat with a trailer, and you're gonna see it. You know, the paper pamphlet, which great, wonderful, we hand punch those up, but where does that actually disappear to? Does it actually get out in the public? Is it seen all the time? Something like this, you know, you maybe get a lot of bang for your buck and something simple like this. And certainly social media is wonderful also, but you're on the boat, are you looking at your phone or should you be looking at your phone? I don't know. But, you know, something graphic, something visual on the boat or the trailer itself might be ideal.
People love stickers right now. Stickers are a thing.
They're collectors. They're collectors.
Pictures like that.
Get more.
Might be able to get some stickers from someone we know.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about like, you know, if you see younger people with their water bottles and
Yeah.
like in their phone
Or
cases
computers.
and like, you know, stickers are just,
Branding, yeah.
yeah.
do we have any stickers that we do on the landings at all? We just hand them pieces of paper. We don't have stickers in the county?
we had, well, we had gotten some free ones from the DNR, I think, some stickers.
There are some decon
It wasn't
stickers
free,
somewhere.
really.
We actually tried coloring books,
The coloring books, yeah, that works good out on a boat with the water.
Well, it's usually when they're camping, they have something to color on.
Hey, Rick, take it over.
Lakes and Rivers Alliance is coming out with a new handout about AIS stuff. And it's going to be in the spring news magazines for Gull Lake, Wappoa, and also Round Lake. So it's in the works now.
You could share it.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
It's not
Completed yet, but Sarah's doing it for us. I think that'll be research.
There's no reason why we shouldn't use the resources that the DNR has for AIS. There's no reason we shouldn't be, using the resources that anybody's going to give us to help. And so if Laura's going to invest, sounds like they are, why would we not want to leverage that investment?
Reach out to them.
Well,
Yeah, I can email you guys a link to order, like all sorts of DNR AIS stuff. You get a certain number for free and then you pay for everything over that. But I've had individual inspectors actually reach out to me, like from other counties, and I've sent them the link. So if your inspectors want more stuff, you can just have them contact the DNR directly and we can send those materials to that inspector instead of to the county, if that makes sense. Do you see what, do you follow?
Is it free?
There's a certain number of these things you can get for free, yes. Yep.
otherwise, I look at it and I think, we're paying for these.
Yeah.
So if we gotta pay the DNR, we gotta pay a local vendor, I guess we're paying one way or paying
Well,
another.
that's-
To
Instead of their money back, if you think of it that
the
way.
extent that we get some free, we're better off.
So I just heard this from my marketer that I work with, and I agree with the protect the lakes slogan, but the thing is, I can't connect with that. For instance, it doesn't matter. When do you think about water quality? When it goes bad. When do you think about drinking water? When it goes bad. When do you think about AIS? When it goes bad on your lake. When do you think about yourself? 100% of the time. So he said, instead of saying protect our lakes from ecological, he said, don't you want to have something like this? Don't you want your children to have the same experience that you did when you have a kid? Oh, now you're talking about yourself. Or what about, don't you want to protect the home that's on the lake? Now it's getting personal. Now, AIS has an effect on, if you can't, my wife worked at a realtor's office, and the first thing the people walked in when they were moving from the cities, hey, what's the fish like on that lake? That's what they would ask. Well, you can catch walleye there. Oh yeah, you can only catch sunnies on this lake and stuff. But that's what they ask because it's all about them. And so if you can make that more personal, like not protect our future, but something to the effect that, protect your values, like your home value, your cabin value, your children's values, so they can have the same experience. Now you're thinking about them and they're like, oh, AIS and my world. Oh, okay, that affects me. Otherwise, it's just another Pelican Lake I'm going on. It's just another Gull Lake that I'm going on. And that's you kind of create the messaging that says it's all about me. And it's not about the environment. It's all about, I like this. I like going on my lake, But anyway, that's just food for thought.
All right, so what's next? Just kind of a little bit like Alex reported earlier today. We're hoping to get this out, a 30-day public comment period. Then January, once we have a little bit more understanding of the comments and what was proposed, we'll bring this to the county board to act on the 2024 AIS plan. February would be beginning of the hiring process for the 2024 seasonal watercraft inspectors. May 1st would be inspector trainings when they would begin. And then May 11th through the first day, May 11th would be the first day of the working at the landings. That is what we would propose that, the order that we would continue on.
Any comments on the process for that? As you leave and drive home today, you're going to think of something that you wish you would have said. And so, was it on the next slide? That's who you should contact. That's who presented to you today. If you have thoughts as you're driving home, we're still interested. Anybody online have anything that they would like to comment?
Remember, when this is over, either Jessica or Eric will send the slides, their contact info after this, so you'll have it all. Don't have to worry about writing it down if you don't want to, 'cause it'll all be sent to your lake association and stuff.
There won't be a test whether, Gary.
Just at your next water impact inspection training. No.
Any other feedback you guys have for us? No news is good news.
Yeah.
And I always figured if we're having a good partnership, that we've already talked about most of the things that need to be talked about, and so we get to this point and it is quiet, and that's good. As that changes, if things happen with your lake association, between the county and your lake association, and things aren't going well, then you can also contact me. I'm not an expert on AIS, just on county government. Experts in AIS are those two. Okay? I think that's all we have for you today. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's it.
That's all we got. Thank you for coming, folks. We appreciate it.
Now let's see the easy part.
Apparently.
Did you hear anything about the meeting across Lake?
What's your Eric under the bus?
Whether they're gonna decide